A consulting pipeline is not a funnel. It's a relationship progression. It's the journey a potential client takes from not knowing you exist to trusting you enough to pay for your thinking. The journey has stages. So stage 1 is awareness. They find out that you exist. Stage 2 is interest. They consume something you created and decided what we're talking about is valuable. And stage 3 is LinkedIn just announced something recently that every corporate leader needs to hear, whether you're middle management, senior, executive leadership. Check this out. They just launched a feature called Advice Sessions, where you can now charge for one-on-one consulting calls directly from your LinkedIn profile. Game changer. Booking payment, video, all inside LinkedIn. So there's no need for external tools. No Calendly, no Stripe, just your profile and expertise. And here's the first thing I thought of when I saw the announcement. The professionals who have authority, right, on the platform, they're going to print money. And the ones who don't have a platform yet just got a very clear signal that the market is ready to pay for your expertise, for your thinking. And the question is whether the market knows you exist. So today we talk about how your podcast becomes a pipeline that makes sure it does. So let's talk about the market and why now is the time. So the global consulting market is valued at over $400 billion in 2026. So independent consulting is one of the top 25 fastest growing professional categories in the US right now. So companies are moving away from full-time senior hires and moving forward toward fractional consultants and specialized advisors who can come in, solve a specific problem, and leave. That model is tailor-made for the corporate leader who has spent a decade building deep domain expertise inside one organization. So the problem is not that the market doesn't want what you have. The problem is that the market can't find you. You have no platform. You have no pipeline. You have no system that warms a potential client before you get on a call with them. And that is exactly what a podcast solves systematically, consistently, and in a way that compounds every single week you show up. Okay, so let's talk about what a pipeline actually means. I want to define this term clearly, and because I think that most corporate leaders hear pipeline and then they think sales, a sales funnel or immediate connection.
I want to take a pause for a second and talk about your confidence, right? You got the experience, the results, the credibility, but when it comes to putting your voice out there, fear creeps in. Who am I to do this? Does that sound familiar? That's imposter syndrome, and it's keeping you small. My coaching is about breaking through that, helping you turn your expertise into content, conversation, and coaching that builds real influence in your industry. So if you're done hiding behind titles and ready to lead with your story, head over to connectingwithcreatives.com/coaching and let's get started. I'll see you soon.
A consulting pipeline is not a funnel. It's a relationship progression. It's the journey a potential client takes from not knowing you exist to trusting you enough to pay for your thinking. The journey has stages. So stage 1 is awareness. They find you, they find out that you exist. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is interest. They consume something you created and decided what you were talking about is valuable. And stage 3 is trust. They have spent enough time with you and you're thinking, and they feel that they already know you. And stage 4 is action. They book a call, they send a message, or they click on a link. So a podcast accelerates every single one of those stages at the same time. Every episode is an awareness event. Every episode deepens interest. Every episode builds trust. And every episode ends with a clear action for the listener who is already ready to take the next step. And I'm going to tell you why your podcast warms the consulting conversation. And here's the dynamic that most people have never had explained to them. When a potential consultant client gets on a discovery call with someone who has a podcast, the conversation starts It starts in a completely different place rather than a cold call. They already heard you. They trust you. They experience your framework. They know how you think about things. So they already trust your perspective before they even say a word to you. So the objections are lower. The trust is higher. Is the time to close is shorter. I have worked with clients who book consulting conversations directly from podcasts, right? Who have never met. I have never met them before in person. So people who found an episode, listened for 30 minutes, and reached out to say, I wanted to work with you. That's not luck. That is a pipeline functioning exactly the way it is designed to function. So the podcast nurtures while you sleep. The discovery call closes while you are present. Those are two different jobs. And the podcast does the harder one automatically. Let that sink in. We don't want to work hard in 2026. We want to work smarter. Okay. So let me walk you through exactly how this works. And I know I've been giving this framework out for the past few episodes, but I really want this to stick. So over the next 12 months, so month 1 and 2, you are building the foundation. You record your first 8 to 10 episodes around a specific domain problem that you target in your consulting, which is you want to target what your client is actively looking for. We don't want to hear about your life story. We want to hear about what you're going to help transform, right? What you're going to help get results on, right? That's all they care about. So in month 3 and 4, now you can start bringing on guests that's in your target market. For example, a CEO who's navigating the exact transformation you specialize in, a VP who's dealing with the exact operational challenge you have solved for 15 years. And every guest conversation is a relationship that now exists in your personal network, not your employer's network, right? So in month 5 and 6, your episodes are being indexed. Your name is starting to surface in places you're not around or you're not presently in, right? Someone finds your episode 4 through LinkedIn. Someone shares the episode 7 in a Slack community you never heard of. The inbound begins slowly, then consistently. And by month 9, you have had your own first consulting conversation that came entirely from a listener who found you through the platform. Not a referral, right? Not a former colleague, a stranger who became warm through your content before you ever spoke. So that is the pipeline working, and it doesn't stop working for you. So episode 1 from month 1 is still generating conversation in month 12. That is compounding. That is what a salary will never do. So let's go back to the LinkedIn advice sessions, right? Let's talk about that opportunity right now. Like I said, they just launched that, and the timing of this matters because advice sessions lets you set an hourly rate, accept booking from your public profile, and host paid video consultations without leaving the platform. So the professionals who are going to convert this feature into immediate revenue are the ones who already have a content presence that signals authority. The ones with podcasts, the ones with consistent LinkedIn posts anchored to a specific domain, the ones who have been building the platform while everyone was waiting. So if you set up advice sessions today with no content presence behind your profile, you will get 0 bookings. If you set it up with 40 podcast episodes and a clear positioning statement behind it, your profile becomes a revenue generating asset. The podcast is not the pipeline. It is the infrastructure that makes every new platform feature work in your favor. So I'll leave with this. I'll close with this. The market is paying for expertise right now in a way it has never paid before. LinkedIn just made that more direct than ever before. So the only question is whether your platform is ready to capture what the market is already willing to spend. A podcast is how you build that platform. The discovery call is how you convert it. The link to start building right now is in the show notes. So if you want a strategy that will work for you in the long game, book a call with me and let's get started. Come on.